Suicide Squad's been around a long time in a lot of incarnations. It sort of starts out as Task Force X and evolves into Suicide Squad.
Suicide Squad began back in the late 50s. Robert Kanigher and Ross Andru drew 5 issues in The Brave and the Bold. It wasn't in its own title. It was about a team of adventurers, and then they didn't do anything else with it.
It was a much more grounded look at this group of military operatives. They were just military operatives that were on covert missions that were dangerous and considered suicidal, hence the nickname Suicide Squad. And Rick Flag actually was the leader of that military operation.
For me, I was kind of most interested in the Ostrander series from the 80s. I'm a child of the 80s, and I grew up during the Cold War, and the Suicide Squad of that time period was full of that government paranoia and the black ops and the secrecy and the idea of using criminals to do things that you might not acknowledge in public.
When I came into it, the editor, Bob Greenberger, said, we got this title that we haven't done anything with in a long time, and you can do anything you want, and it's called Suicide Squad. And my first reaction is, what a stupid name. Who in their right minds would belong to something that called itself a Suicide Squad? I started to go, well, okay, who would? People who don't have any other choice. Well, who don't have any other choice? Prisoners. Prisoners don't have a choice. Prisoners in the DC universe are supervillains. Okay, I like supervillains a lot. I like playing with supervillains. They appeal to the bad side of us. They say things, they do the things that we might think or feel, but we don't do, mainly because we're more civilized than they are. I didn't even want the mainstream villains. I wanted villains that they could say, yeah, sure, John, go ahead, take them, do whatever you want. Because then I could play with their backgrounds, their characters, and if you're going to call it Suicide Squad, characters have to die along the way. And we did that from the very first appearance of the squad in Legends.
It's been one of my favorite comics forever. It's full of characters that you at one time wished would get together, and now all of a sudden they're together. And not only are they together, but they're going on missions together, and they are experiencing things together, and you get an opportunity to explore psychologically what all these characters are like in their personal lives, and then all of a sudden that is sort of squished together, and you see how it comes out on the big screen. And I think there's a tremendous amount of wish fulfillment with these characters. There's a lot of people that wish that they could do the kinds of things these characters do.
I think the idea of taking characters that aren't typically good, that are the ones that are actually fighting the heroes, whether it be Superman or Batman, I think that's something that's fresh.
The Suicide Squad characters, both as individuals and as part of the squad, have a legacy that goes back generations. So it's rewarding for us to be able to take these characters and bring them to the big screen.
I worked really hard to create a grounded film so you could feel like you could drive down the street and look down an alley and see Deadshot doing his business. Or pass Harley Quinn, you know, in another car with Joker, which may not be a good thing.
In this very dark, gritty world that could almost be reality, it doesn't seem as surreal as some of those other movies you see.
I have a vision in my head, and my job is to explain and translate these things I see in my mind into things that can be sewn, built, painted. Great collaborator was Oliver Scholl, the set designer. He pulled me in directions I didn't want to go, and I pulled him in directions he didn't want to go. And the end result is spectacular.
Superhero stories are inherently fantastic, but the approach was very realistic. Sometimes even downplaying elements, where normally you would have gone like a bit more shiny, to say, no, we're not going to go that way. We're going to stay very grounded with it.
Clear for transport. Welcome to Bel Rey Special Security Barrack. Here to assist you in any way.
Bel Rev was a design that Oliver and David came up with, and of course it's set in the swamp, but there's so many different ways that you can execute that.
Hey! You get it!
David had friends that worked in prison and got reference material from them, down to the layout of the security table and what would be on the screens. Really the minutiae of everything.
And that kind of authenticity, and that's a real testament to David's process and wanting to make sure there really isn't any detail that's not too important, because they're all important.